Hi everyone, it's Dan here. Welcome to the School of Light. Today it's all about LEDs. I'm going to try and share with you as much as I know about this type of LED. We're going to look at different shapes, different colors, how they react with space when we turn them on. I've made a few crazy little devices here to help us do that. We're going to make still images of the LEDs, how to power them. So I have a pretty serious disclaimer here. I'm a bit of a dipshit. When I made my very first, this is it. This is such a cool thing to share with you. So I found this the other day. I didn't quite have time today to fire it up, but this here is the very first time I ever connected LEDs up to a battery to make a light painting. And I'll show you the image I made with it on there. But since then, I've learned a lot more about LEDs, but here's the disclaimer. There will be people in the world, on YouTube, online, and probably in the comments below that are going to show that there is a lot of information about LEDs that I don't know. And I'll tell you the first one and the most important one. There is a lot of mathematics and numbers around how LEDs work, how you power them, how much power they draw, all those things. And so the entire time I have been making light painting tools, there has been a lot of guesswork. So you'll probably go and find way better, more technical information about how to make LEDs work than I can ever hope to share with you. So what we're doing today is I am literally going to talk you through how I figure out how LEDs work and look, how I get them going, how I power them, how I decide all the things that I decide. But yeah, I just wanted to get that out of the way. So please understand that a lot of what I'm about to say may not even be true, may not be right, may not be accurate, but I'm just gonna do my best. Well, look, let's start at the beginning. What I've done is I've put together a small selection of LEDs. I have a lot of LEDs. I've got my box down here. Check this out. So I dipped into this today. So this is my box of, one of my boxes of bulk LEDs. I buy them in big ass bags like this. So I've dipped into my supply to show you a few different types of LEDs. And what I've done is I've got them like this, so we can look at some of the different shapes and colors and some of the technical aspects of it. Then what we're going to do is once we cover that off, I've built this device, and I've got a camera over here set up on the workbench with, there we go, I've got a camera set up here, and we're going to use that in a minute, combined with this, which is a device that I have made that's going to allow us to see what happens with LEDs as they travel through space. So this should be good. We'll see how we go. Let's get into the basics. LEDs come in many different shapes, many different colors, but there are some fundamentals about LEDs, and here they are. They're powered by a battery of some sort. There is a long and a short leg. The long leg is positive. Now this is not always the case, but the vast majority of the time. The long leg is positive, and you take a battery. So this battery here has positive and negative wire. They're normally red and black, and you attach the positive to the positive leg and the negative to the negative leg, and you have an LED glowing. But there are a lot of different elements that make this work. Firstly, you need to understand voltage. So different batteries have different voltage. So this one here is a little AA battery that has 1.5 volts. You've got this little guy here, which is a button battery that has 3 volts. And then you have this one here, which has 9, and you can go all the way up to 12, whatever you like. But these, for me, are the different voltages that I use for different purposes. The vast majority of the time, it's a 9-volt battery. And here's the thing you need to understand. This is where I'm going to do my best. When you apply a voltage to an LED, if it's too much voltage, it will stop working or die. If it's not enough, it won't start. Now, I have made a little tool here. I've got this tool here, which is fundamentally a little button battery, and then it goes through, and there's a button, there's a go button there, and then there's a positive and a negative. And the reason I have designed this is so I can show you how LEDs work. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm just going to grab an LED. So in this case, it's a 10mm red. I've got a positive leg, I'm going to put it in a positive hole, and when I press this button, it's going to turn on. Now, I have connected it directly to the LED. I haven't put any resistance on it, which we'll talk about in a minute, but because it's only 3 volts, that LED will just keep working forever and ever. No problem at all. However, as soon as you start applying more voltage, so this is a 9-volt battery, and you can go and discover all the technical aspects of this, but if I take this 9-volt battery and I attach it to these legs on this LED with no protection, it will blow up the LED. I'm not going to get into that why. So what we do is, this is neat, is every LED that I have ever connected to a light painting tool has a resistor on there. And resistance basically reduces the amount of voltage or varies the amount of voltage that goes through the LED. And resistors have different values. Here we go. Resistors have different values. And you can get all sorts. This is how I get my resistors. So these are in a box. So these ones here I think are 560. So these are 560 ohms. And this is where mathematics comes into play. And you can figure it out if you like. What resistance and what LEDs and stuff. But believe it or not, this is how I have done it for 15 years, and it's still how I do it. Is I fundamentally use 3 different values of resistance: 150 ohm, 330 ohm, and 560 ohm, and on occasion 1K, and I'll show you in a minute how that works. And then I fire up an LED, and there's all sorts of different strengths and where I get them from, and new and old, and all sorts of different types of LEDs. And I just do experiments. So I'll take an LED and I'll put a 330 ohm resistor on there, and I'll have a look at that, and I'll look at the power, and if I'm happy with it, I just continue on. And over time, I've got pretty used to it. But what I've got today, so all of our examples today, apart from one, I have just attached 150 ohm resistors to all of our LEDs. Whew. Wow, we got through that part. That's sort of mathematics, so that's pretty good. So let's talk about all the different types of LEDs. There are many different types of LEDs, but here are some examples. Clear LEDs, all right, so they are different colors, but they have clear cases on them, and then you can see here we've got some colored ones. Sometimes they're different levels of frosting, and then they're also different shapes. So you can see here we've got some conical ones there, we've got some round ones here. I've even got some fancy ones here that I sort of have some pretty cool textures in the plastic that affect the light. So I have got these ones here. So this body of LEDs here, these are all red. And I thought that would be a really good way to show you some of the different ways that these work. So here we've got, now because this is the 3-volt little unit, I don't need to worry about the resistors. So I'm just going to pop this in here, positive leg, negative leg, and it will turn on. And I'll show you something neat. So using this white box here, what I'm going to do is I am going to put the LED on there, and you can see that it is a pretty, look at that. You can see the way the light is going out. So it's a very narrow beam going out onto the box, and I'll change it and I'll pop that in there. There we go. So I'm going to put that on there. All right, look at that one. Really different. Look at that. Look at the spread of light on there. So the other one was very sort of round and solid. This one is a really nice effect. Okay, so you can see the different way the light is coming out of the LED there. So this one here, that's a real pinpoint of light on that one. If I go close, yeah, but it's a clear case. Oh no, sorry, it's a diffuse case, but that's a different pinpoint of light. And these LEDs. Yeah, look at that. All right, so that's the shape of light that comes out of it. So they all have different angles that the light comes out, and then when you get these diffuse cases here, it's quite different. So you get this really sort of soft spread of light. All right. So here we're just looking at the different way the light comes out of the LED, diffuse case LED. All right, and that's just a big, that's a very sort of a broad spread of light. Okay, so they're the different ways that we get color out of the LEDs. All right, and then the other thing, and this is what we're going to do with this contraption here, is the way that the light comes out of the LED as it's traveling through space. If you look at an LED, the brightness and the intensity and the shape of it will change as it's moving through space. Now for light painting, that is really important. So with the ball of light tool, I designed those heads so that as the head is traveling through space and the camera, as it's traveling past the, of course I should have one. So when it comes to the ball of light tool, all I'm thinking about is how the light is leaving the tool and how it's interacting with the camera as it comes flying through space. And I design these heads with different LEDs, with different spreads, different shapes, different powers, to try and get different effects with that. All right, that's pretty straightforward, that stuff. So yeah, so there's different colors, shapes, textures, and there's different ways that the light comes out of the LEDs, and they have different brightnesses as well. Well, let's look at some other different types of LEDs actually. So here's one that I found. So we've looked at the basic stuff. So this is some crazy retro LED thing that I found in my box before. And we're not going to be covering these in too much detail today, but here are a few different other types. So these are called powered LEDs or COBs. So if you look at this LED here, so that's tiny little thing. So this is what's called a COB, which is chip on board. They're used in commercial lighting, bits and pieces. This is a very, very, very bright Cree LED like this. These tend to need different controllers, different power sources, all stuff that I completely don't understand. But I do know you need things like this. So here is a heat sink. So these get very, very hot, and you mount them like this on heat sinks. Here's some cool, these ones here, look at these. These are wild. These are Cree. These are super, super, super wild Cree LEDs. How close can we get? There's all sorts of amazing LEDs in this sort of space. Now the other thing you can get, I found one of these. These are pre-wired LEDs. So this is an LED that you buy it and it already has the resistor in line, and then you just have your positive and negative line there, and you manage that. Here's another type of LED that I found earlier. So this is a COB. So this is basically the same as these things here. So this is basically a COB, but it's in a flexible strip. They're really neat. Now the other type of LED there is that we're not going to cover today, I'm doing in a separate video, is RGB strip. I'm going to do a whole separate video on that because we're going to make some tools with those. All right, let's get into this. Oh, here's some of the different ways you can buy it. Now here's a box I found. Now these are little 3mm LEDs. So LEDs come in different sizes, 3mm, 5mm, 10mm, all sorts, but they're the three main sizes. So these here is a little box of 3mm LEDs. I think I got these, oh, there's some 5s in there. Oh, look at that. That's cool actually. You can see this side is 3mm and this side is 5mm. I can't remember where I bought these, maybe AliExpress or something. I've got a whole lot of them actually. I think I was going to do a workshop, but yeah, so you can buy them like this. I buy them in bulk. Here are some. These are cool. So this is a LED strip that is used in a commercial environment. So this probably gets fed into some sort of machine. And then I know I pull this out all the time, but back in the day when I was first starting out, and I made that crazy tool there, I made this, and this was me really, really experimenting. So we've got a 10mm, a diffuse LED, and that one there is actually a warm white LED in there, which is, I've got on my strip here, beautiful. But that was back when I was really experimenting with LEDs, which is a huge amount of fun. So I've got my camera here, and I had to make a little, I realized the heights were a bit wonky, so I've got a bit of a stand here. All right, and here is my crazy LED device. All right, I've been looking forward to making this one for so long. I've had this idea in my head for ages. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm focusing on the end of the LED, and you can see I'm able to rotate it like this. And in theory, you'll be able to see the texture the LED makes. So this could turn out to be a complete schmozzle, or it might be super awesome. Now I am going to just start at like F11 because we're super close to the LED. Here we are. Now I have done this so I can adjust the brightness of this, so I can turn them down or up, and you'll see why in a minute. Let's just get into it. So I have a couple of, I got a couple of clear LEDs here, and I just want to make an image and see how we go. I've got two clears. I've got an orange one and a cyan one and a 10mm solid white. So let's not muck around. Just turn this light off. I've got my remote. So I've got the shutter set to F11 for 2 seconds. I'm just going to open the shutter and whoosh, past the, look at that. Okay, so we'll be able to zoom in on that and take a look. But I do just want to make sure that it's not over. No, it's fine. I'm just going to dial it down a bit just to double check. So I'm going to open the shutter and move it past the lens and we'll close it. Nice, that's better. Okay, so we'll leave it at that power. So what I want to do is let's have a peek at that on the screen, and you will see that the top one, because it's a 10mm LED, the very top one is more of a solid light, and the orange one, as it's coming past the lens, you'll see that the texture and the shape of it changes. So different facets of light as it's coming out behave differently with space. Okay, so let's not muck around. I'm just going to get straight into it. I'm going to put 3 different red LEDs in here so we can have a look at how the different LEDs work to make a red color. I'm going to poke that top one in there. There we go. I'll turn it on. So so there's the top one, and then I've got one here that's a little case one. So this has got a different shape on it. That in there, and then I've got one that's like a bit more of a point. Oh, actually, I'll put a diffuse one in there. So I'm going to put a 10mm diffuse LED in there. Doesn't matter. Let's get into it. All right, so we've got 3 different LEDs that in theory will give us 3 different looks as we shift it past the camera. Okay, here we go. And open, rotating. Oh, that's so good. Yeah, nice. All right. Now, we're not going to really know till we see the back of the screen, but what I imagine is happening, in theory, is the bottom one is a 10mm diffuse LED, so it's going to give us a more solid shape all the way through. And the middle one and the top one, as they go past and as they travel past the lens or the direction of the lens, what we're going to get with those is quite a different texture and shape. I'll go again. All right. Now I'm just going to dial the power down. The power is all the way down. We're at F11. And just for shits and giggles, I'm going to crank the power up on these just to maximum. Here we go. Wham. Let's see how that went. Yeah, what you'll notice is the top one is blowing out. The middle one's quite cool actually. And then the red one is still this beautiful solid color. Although we do still get a bit of variation as it comes past. I'm going to go one more time, but I'll go a little slower. And of course it's a bit wobbly. Cool, so those are the red ones. How nice is that? Yeah, this is a really good way for you to see the different way that the texture or the shape of the LED affects it as it's going past. So we have the just a red diffuse case at the top. No, that's a clear case at the top, red. The middle one is what I call the little conical one, and then we've got the solid red there. All right. We are going to turn the light back on as I change these out. Okay, so we're going to pop that back on there. Let's grab these 3 here. So this one, the top one, is what I think of as like quite a cheap. This is quite a basic, cheap diffuse one. It's not going into the hole very well. That's okay. Let's do that. There we go. So there's a diffuse red one, and then we had this one before, but this is also a red cased one. So it's not clear. These have all got cases on them. Beautiful. Let's see if I can get that one in a bit further. And then I've got this one here, which is a really crazy LED. I've never actually used in a tool, but I just found it before. This has got a really bizarre shape to it. It's like a pinpoint of light. Okay, light off. Let's see how we go. So we're still at F11, F11, 2 seconds. Open, whoosh, and past. Wicked. That's really interesting actually. So you can see the top one is, this top diffuse one is quite solid all the way through. The middle one varies quite a bit as it comes past. It varies quite a bit as it comes past. So it comes through, it's thin, and then it becomes quite thick and all the way up. Whereas the bottom one, we still get this crazy pinpoint of light. Now, because I'm so close to the camera, I'm going to turn it down a bit and we'll go again. Here we go. Open. Yeah, that's better. All right. So yeah, the bottom one is like this beautiful pin of light. The middle one, this is fantastic actually. The middle one, as it comes around and comes close to the middle of the lens, it actually becomes fatter or larger. And of course the top one, because it's diffuse, is pretty similar all the way around. So all of those different. Red, all different ways to get red. So that's pretty cool. Okay, here's a couple of really funky LEDs. All right, this here is, now I know this is going to be a little bit tricky to see by the nature of it, but this is a flashing RGB LED. And all this stuff, right? So here's another thing. All these things, you can just Google this. You can just Google flashing RGB LED. You better find them all over the show. It has never been easier to buy LEDs. So look at this one. This is very cool, actually. I just made a ball of light head. I'll show you. So this is going to be a huge amount of fun to make a ball of light with. Look at that. Woohoo! So let's pop that one into the machine, into our device. And then I've got this other one that I found, which is another RGB. One is a diffuse RGB and one is a clear case. All right, let's turn that on. All right, pretty straightforward here. You can see in that last image there that I made that the top one, because it's a diffuse case, is solid all the way around. And with the clear case, because the light behaves differently as it's coming out of the case. Yeah, that's a really good example. So this is a really good example of how the clear case and the diffuse case behave quite differently. I'll show you the difference. So you can see here, you can see there's the clear one and the diffuse one. So before we were talking about resistance. So here I've got two LEDs. They're exactly the same LEDs. Now one of them has a 150 ohm resistor on it, and one of them has a 1000 ohm resistor on it, or 1K. I'm going to turn it all the way up, and I'm just going to go back to F11 here. Turn the light off. I have the same amount of voltage going to them on my machine, but one has a 150 ohm and one has a 1000 ohm resistor. So here we go. Open and rotate. Interesting. You can kind of see that the top one is a lot brighter. I wonder, I'm just going to try something. I move my, so we can kind of see it from above. So we're kind of looking down on the LEDs now. Let's have a crack at this. Open. Yeah, you can definitely see there that the top one is definitely brighter than the bottom one. And that is because the top one has less resistance than the bottom one. Here we are. So here's a pretty interesting LED. So this one has some, the surface of the plastic has different shapes on it. I'm going to pop that in there. Let's look down onto the LED as it goes past. All right, I'm going to make sure that we are cool. So we're focused on the LED there. Okay, let's go. On. Yeah, that's very cool. Okay, so because of the texture in the LED surface, in the clear plastic, the way the light comes out of it is very, very, very cool. You get quite a different variation in texture of the LED. That's really neat, actually. And what I'll do is let me pop a clear normal amber LED in there next to it. So we've got what I think of as a normal LED head and one with a nice. Yeah, I think that worked well. And then I'm going to grab an LED with a diffuse case on it. Here we go. Yeah, that's a great example actually of how an LED with a textured surface on it can react quite differently. So we've got the normal clear one on the top, and then we've got this one with this weird sort of hexagonal effect on it, and then we've got this other one here which is diffuse. So they all behaved really differently. Fake candles use these flickering LEDs. So it's what I call breathing. I'll turn this off. So it's breathing. So you can see that it's flickering or breathing the LED. Open. Open again. But when I make a ball of light tool and you put these heads in there, you get this really nice flickering effect to it. All right, the last thing I want to show you. So I've got these three LEDs here. So you can see those ones there on the end. So they're the same shape. So they have this weird conical top to it. And I just want to show you how 3 different LEDs, 3 different colors out of the same LED. Yeah, this is going to work down here actually. Here we go. 3 different colored LEDs. Open. Nice, look at that. That's very cool. So the bottom one is blue, middle one is orange, and the top one is purple. Very, very, very cool. I'm having way too much fun here. This is actually quite a cool bit of light painting. All of these are super, super easy to find. You just need to Google LEDs online and you find. It's probably one of the most fun aspects of my tool making. I do a lot of sitting at my workbench over there, listening to some music, maybe watching something, and I'll have different LEDs, and I'll show you another little device that I have. These are really easy to find. These are really easy to find. So this little device here, right, is an LED tester, and what it has is it has all these different points where you put the LED in. I'll give you an example. So if I pop, actually let me get 2 LEDs that are the same. So I'm going to take the same LED and pop it in the top one, and the top one has 50, or supplies 50 milliamps. The middle one 10, or it allows the, see, this is where I get a bit doofusy. Allows the LED to draw. And then the bottom one, 2 milliamps. So what we've got here is we have 3 different levels of resistance. And you may be able to see there that this one here is the brightest, this one is the middle, and this one is the lowest. So this is an LED tester, and it allows you to stick an LED in there, and these are super easy to buy online, super easy to find. So I'll sit at my workbench and I'll sit there with LEDs and I'll poke them in there, and I'll make a bit of I'll take those ones out, and then I'll put maybe an orange one in, or a red one, and I can just get a feel. Looking at them, you know, how they look together, how they feel together, and then I can put a light painting tool together, which is really cool. Pop down to your local electronics store, buy some resistors. You can buy little packs of 10 resistors. You can buy boxes of resistors. Grab yourself a switch, just grab yourself a basic button. But in an upcoming video, we're going to be sitting over there, and I'm going to actually show you how to make a little light writer, so that you can make your own things. There we go. That wasn't too bad actually. That went okay. Yeah, LED 101. There we go. I'm going to keep this. We might use this later when we make our little light writers. Magic. Let's get into it. Peace.